Alright. It's only been like 8 months. I looked back on previous things. I know I remember what's going on. I have reviewed the plot. I have reviewed the plot. It's been a while since I've done the reading though, so it's... Oh boy. Did I... Wait, did I want quick load or did I... Oh god, I forgot. No, this is where I saved. I saved... Yeah. There. The news about the leaked video of the group dive quickly became a huge deal, of course. The net was, like Grimm said, in an uproar. A lot of people on 8chan were saying that this proved that all 4 new gen murders were committed by the same person. The killer's got to be whose eyes are those? Guy who upped the video to YouTube has to be the killer, right? Totally, whose eyes are what? I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's like a typo or some kind of internet jargon I'm not familiar with. Okay, I'll call the cops. Whose eyes are those? The whose eyes message showed up at the vampire crime scene too. Now there's a connection between the first and last new gen murders. People had been saying that there was no connection at all, but I guess they were wrong. So then the pregnant man, and crucified are also. Oh shit, this is exciting. I don't even want to read that. Is that like an emoji? There's so many of these like ASCII emoji things that I like, my brain doesn't even register as and the image they're supposed to be. It's just random shit. Oh, no, why? Why is it doing this? Oh, I'm bad. Oh, I'm bad at this. It's not even... Oh, man, I noticed it and now I can't... Oh, please let me fix it quickly so it's... Where? Here, okay. Oh, God. It's like... There. Kitty cat, not right now, please. I am... Okay, I fixed it, I think. I'm so good at this. Nothing's changed. Don't look at me, lol. Whose eyes are those? Oh, wait, I skipped one. And since the vampire case was the first time we saw whose eyes, that means that the killer can't be somebody who saw the group dive and tried to copy it. They have to be the same guy. I saw the video and it looks like fake bullshit to me. Oh, low-income earner. Just some quality usernames right now. We got Pilot, Plastic Surgeon, Big Silly. Oh, I like Big Silly. I saw the video. Oh, and I saw it. I bet one Perica. It's some theater group trying to make a name for themselves. Don't say whose eyes, guys. You're just egging the killer on. That's fair. So this means all the new gen murders were the same guy, right? Face. Whose eyes are those? What is... I don't know what that is. Okay. Maybe the other side. I don't know what M9 is. Again, I assume it's like a hand of some kind, but my brain doesn't process what it's supposed to be. Maybe the other side of that ledge only drops down 2 meters, and there's like a mat or something under it, lol. Oh, that's right. I don't want to read the lols. Lols are dumb. Agreed. As long as that phrase is popular, we're going to keep seeing more murders. Cut it the hell out. It's not funny anymore. Whose eyes? I live in Shibuya. So God, don't look at me. It's the most... Why? There's so many of these. I'm like actually... It's like an actual forum page. It's the most viewed YouTube video. Hey, lol, don't look at me. Oh my God, I hate it. It's the top article on MHK News. Whose eyes claimed responsibility yet? Oh my god. The TV news was just as excited. 140 was right. Which one was 140? Did I not see 140? All the government-run TV stations, except for TV TK, has done specials on it, and they've been showing the video nonstop. It's so hard to read. There's text on top of text. None of the specials were longer than an hour, but the fact that the video was broadcast all over the country was shocking. Of course, all the stations cut the last part where they actually jumped, but the effects they had were... The effect they had was incredible. TV commentators were saying more or less the same thing on the internet, that all 4 of the new gen cases were the work of the same killer. It was inevitable that they'd say that, at last, the new gen cases had something in common. It's actually easier to read on my captures. I might do that. Whose eyes are those? The phrase was so popular in Shibuya right now. It had originally been thought that these words only appeared during the 4th incident, the vampire case. But one of the victims of the group dive said the phrase as well, despite it taking place over a month before vampire. Now, out of the 4 murders, it had appeared in 2, the first and the most recent one. Which meant it was probably the same person responsible for all 4. The police had held an emergency press conference to announce that they were doing everything they could to find the uploader of the video. A few politicians issued statements expressing their anger and sorrow, and demanding that the killer be caught immediately. The video was deleted by YouTube's administrators less than 3 hours after upload, but it was too late. Channers everywhere had downloaded it already, and nobody could stop it from being spread now. And then, late that night, the police made their next announcement. The video of the group dive incident was uploaded from a manga cafe named At Cafe, specifically the PC in room 37. Awkward. I sat in my seat and leaned forward, my head pressed against my arms. I'd been listening on the conversations around me without even realizing I was doing so. Today, I was feeling really sensitive toward other people's voices. After listening to a few conversations, I realized that everybody was talking about the group dive, just like I thought they would be. Some of the girls were even saying, "Whose eyes are those?" as a joke. I bit my lip and stared down at my desk. That video was proof. Proof that Shogun was real. Proof I wasn't the killer. So I didn't have multiple personalities. The old man in the wheelchair was the new gen killer. But why had Shogun uploaded the video? Nobody had any clues to the identity of the killer. Why would he reveal himself now? I'd thought about it and come to 2 possible conclusions. The first was that Shogun may have just wanted attention and recognition for his crimes. Given how he'd shown himself to me, that seemed likely. The other was a challenge to me. For some reason, Shogun and his servant Yuo were after me. I didn't know why, but they'd almost succeeded in making me out to be the new gen killer. The police might still suspect me. Shogun was trying to trap me even now.
僕のメッセージは受け取ってくれた？目覚めるんだ。早く。でないと、もっとたくさんの人が死んじゃうことになるから。忘れないで。君は逃げちゃいけない。
That's what the Shogun I'd seen had said. As near as I could tell, what he meant to say was, "I'm going to kill you, so don't run away." It was a threat. Now, he'd uploaded a video for all of Japan to see. He was escalating things. He must have moved to the next stage of his plan. But it would be naive to think this meant he'd given up on me. I should assume that his attacks and plots were only going to get worse. I was scared. That video was terrifying. Shogun was weaker and frailer than even I was, but he'd killed 5 teenagers without even laying a finger on them. If he was behind all the new gen killings, that would mean that even the pregnant man, crucified, and vampire were all done by his hand, despite his tiny, frail body. Or maybe Yua had helped? Either way, I didn't have any hope of protecting myself from people who could do something like that. I felt anger at being chosen as their target so arbitrarily, but I also felt afraid of them. And then, whose eyes are those? There was that message too. Whenever I let my guard down for a moment, my body started to shiver. I had to stay tense at all times if I was going to keep myself from losing control. I kept a close eye on my surroundings and made sure I was ready to run if someone approached. Shogun, or maybe Yua, could appear at any moment. It was entirely possible that Shogun had more servants than just Yua, after all. Maybe some of my classmates, the kids who were laughing and chatting around me right now, were under his influence too. I had to avoid being caught off guard, like I was at Cafe yesterday. Otherwise, this time, I'd be killed. I needed to find that D-sword. If I wanted to get out of this alive, I needed that D-sword. After talking to Ayase and Senna, looking on the internet, I was getting more and more sure of it. If I could get the D-sword, I'd be saved. While I was watching things unfold on the internet last night, I'd also been doing everything I could to find information on the D-sword. I'd gotten nowhere. I moved my hands up to my head and tore at my greasy hair. How the hell was I supposed to get a D-sword?
見つけなくちゃいけない。自分自身。方法なんて私には分からないの。
That's what Ayase had said, but I didn't even have a hint as to where to start. It wasn't fair. I was getting more and more scared, and I wasn't making any progress. The fear was crushing me. I had to find it. I had to find that D-sword fast. I needed the D-sword, no matter what. Gotta find it. Gotta find it or it's over. I have to find it before I become the victim in the next new gen case. But find it how? I don't even know where to start. There has to be a hint, some kind of hint. If I don't hurry, I'll lose my chance. Can I find it? I didn't have time to be here at school. My life and graduating school, there was no question which one was more important. So why was I... Then I heard somebody getting close to my seat. I tensed up, jerking my head upward. It was Rimi. She was standing there, blinking in surprise at my sudden movement. You're the one who surprised me. Don't scare me like that. I relaxed, sighed, and dropped my head back on the desk. She peered over me like she always did. I quickly looked away. Was Rimi on my side, or was she my enemy? After she'd saved me once, I was a lot less cautious around her. But that meant I was also just ignoring all the things that made me suspect her in the first place. Why did I see her covered in blood during the crucified murder? If she and I were friends since my first year of school, why didn't I remember it? Rimi looked a little concerned. I turned my head away from her. There was no way I could ask her any of these questions to her face. When the day's classes finally ended, I was mentally exhausted. Even during class, I'd been ignoring the lecture and constantly keeping an eye on my surroundings. I hadn't slept since yesterday, but I felt so tense that I was actually more alert than usual. The school day seemed to drag on for an eternity, and the longer it went, the more miserable I felt. Why did time seem to pass so much slower or faster depending on your mental state? They say that time flows at the same rate for everybody, but there's no way that's true. Time is subjective. If you ask me, the things like hours and minutes were just somebody's secret conspiracy to hide that subjectivity, to make everyone think it was the same. And if time's flow was subjective, didn't that imply you could control it too? I only thought of that because of what Senna said about controlling other people's will. Didn't that imply...
生まれながらに目が不自由な人でも目の前にある景色がちゃんと見えるようになる。
ビデオカメラのような映像機器を介してね。
If you could take the image recorded by a video camera, turn it into electrical impulses, and send it into the brain in a way that could be understood, didn't that imply you could also take the images in the mind and turn them into electrical signals too? Then send them to some kind of device to be turned into a video? There was no need for the signals to be coming from a video camera anyway. For example, what if you hooked up a hard drive with a recording of a travel program? Or what if it wasn't a travel program, but an anime? An anime is just a delusion. It's 2D. But somebody born blind would never even have seen 3D images. If you told them this was what the world looked like, would they believe the 2D world was real? Wouldn't that mean, from their perspective, that a delusion was real? Oh boy. One of these. For example, oh man, I have to think. I'm gonna go with the red. I'm feeling naughty today. Let's say that somebody we'll call A has an image in their brain. You could send it to a hard drive and then turn it into a video, then broadcast it into B's brain. Then A's delusion would become B's reality. Their delusions would become real. It would be theoretically possible, right? Wow, lol. I'm a genius, lol. I became incredibly excited about my own. I have these all the time where I'm just like, I thought of this random thing. Oh my god, I'm the next Einstein. I'm brilliant. Maybe this was the key to getting a D-sword. ISA had said a D-sword was a delusion after all. Okay, time to head home and look it up online. Okay, so from what I remember thinking, like, trying to figure out which ones of these are real and which ones are not. There's like a woobly effect when it's not real. I don't see that here, so I still haven't. I don't know if that's like 100% the case or not. So I don't know. I left the classroom and headed to the front entrance of the school. But on the way there, I changed my mind and headed back to the building where the first year students were. It felt like I'd better do something. It felt like I'd do better to avoid the main gate. There was a chance Shogun or Yuo might be waiting for me there. I decided to leave by another route. I used the connecting corridor that led to the first year students' building. The bell had rung a little while ago, so the only kids left around were the ones on cleaning duty, or in clubs and on sports teams. There was something slightly lonely and nostalgic about a school after the last bell rang. It didn't matter if it was an old wooden school or a newer one like Sume Academy. Suime. Not that I'd ever been to an old wooden school outside of an H game. Either way, the school was quiet. I walked as quickly and quietly as I could through the silence. The setting sun felt warm through the windows. Normally, I walked with my head down, but there were no other students around me, so I walked with my head up, alert, watching for anybody suspicious. Sound. Oh God. I could hear a sound. What was it? Felt like I'd heard it somewhere before. It almost sounds like could be a wheelchair. Then I saw something pass across my vision down the corridor at the end of the hallway. It was an empty wheelchair. Images of the group dive I'd seen yesterday came into my mind. I felt a chill run down my spine and froze. The wheelchair vanished from my vision. Man, that sound is really creepy. It's really very effective. It's like right in my ear. Then I heard an incredibly loud noise. The silence returned. I held my breath and stared in the direction that the sound seemed to have come from. What did I just see? Why was there a wheelchair at school, and why wasn't anybody sitting in it? That last noise was probably the sound of the wheelchair falling down the stairs. If it was that loud, the chair was probably broken into pieces by now. I looked around. The quiet scene suddenly seemed eerie. From where I was standing, at least, I couldn't see anything moving. But I could feel a gaze. Don't look at me. Was Shogun here? Was he at the school? Why? To meet with Yua? To find me? I took a step back. When I did, I almost fell backwards. I somehow managed to retain my balance. I felt cold and clammy. Was this some kind of prank? Why wouldn't they show themselves? I'd feel better if they actually just showed up. Suddenly felt like throwing up. Wanted to get out of here as soon as I could. I ran back the way I came, holding my hands over my mouth. By the time I made it down the stairs and into the courtyard, I couldn't hold it in anymore. The second I dropped to my knees, the contents of my stomach came flooding up in my throat. Oh, that was pleasant. Stomach acid stung my throat. My eyes were blurry. It hurt to breathe. There was a disgusting taste left in my mouth from the vomit. I can't remember the last time I threw up. I actively avoid doing it. I guess I was under a lot of more stress than I thought I was. Maybe it was because I'd been up all night. I wiped the edges of my mouth as I looked around frantically. Nobody was there. But the blind spots and shadows that I normally ignored now seemed terrifying to me. I started to think that Yua and Shogun could be lurking anywhere. And once the idea was in my head, I couldn't take another step. Somebody help me. Wanted to cry, and the urge to vomit came back too. This time I didn't throw up, but I coughed and gasped for air. It hurt so much that even more tears came. Then I felt a soft hand rubbing my back. I turned around, afraid.
大丈夫
Rimi was there.
大丈夫だよ
She wasn't asking me. She was gently telling me.
私はタクの味方だから
She showed no signs of disgust at the smell of my vomit, or the way my face was covered in snot and tears, with dried remains of my stomach's contents crusting the corners of my mouth. Gross. She had a gentle smile in her face, as if she was telling me to... oh my god. As if she was trying to make me feel better. Oh. She came up to me and rubbed my back gently. Why? When I'd wanted somebody to save me before, she'd appeared then too. Like a superhero coming to save the day. Why was it that having her around made me feel so much safer? Why did I feel so much better? The next thing I knew, I was spilling my guts out to her. I hope metaphorically instead of literally this time. Even though I hated talking about myself.
助けて一人は怖いんだ
Maybe that's why I'd come to school today. Till now, I'd always thought I was better off alone. Of course, I was still afraid of talking to anybody. I didn't think I had any hope of being friends with them. But after everything I was going through with Yua and Shogun, I felt so scared and lonely. I wanted somebody to be by my side. I didn't even need them to be nice to me. I just needed them to be there.
一人は怖い
だったら私が一緒にいてあげる
In her words, there was no malice, no hesitation.
さすがに24時間ずっとは無理だけど
She smiled and suddenly looked up at the sky. What was she looking at? Felt like she was staring at something far off in the distance.
朝一緒に学校行って学校では休み時間にどうでもいいこと話してお昼休みは一緒にご飯食べて夕方一緒に帰って帰るついでにたまにどこかのお店に寄ったりしてタクの部屋でちょっとだけおしゃべりしてそれでまた明日ねって手を振って別れてそんなのでいいなら私いくらでもしてあげるよそういうの結構憧れなんだ
That almost sounds like you'd be my girlfriend. I was in shock. She was serious, at least as near as I could tell from looking at her.
どうして
Words.
どうしてそこまでしてくれるの？
それは
Because this was leading where I thought it was, right? Her next words might be, because I like you, right? I couldn't understand what about me she could possibly like, though. No, wait, this was a Komei's trap, a clever trick to get me to let my guard down. It had happened before, right? It's true. You had deceived me and then betrayed me. I couldn't get my hopes up. I needed to imagine the worst case scenario. Rimi might be my enemy too.
石
She suddenly saluted me. I was suddenly caught off guard by her sudden action. Oh my god. I was caught off guard by her sudden action and worried that she might be suddenly about oh my god. So, one moment. Okay. Reset. I was caught off guard by her sudden action and worried that she might suddenly be about to reveal her horrible true nature. Those were the words on the screen. Yep. But I could still see the gentle smile on her face.
そんなの友達だからに決まってるでしょ。私にしてみればタクを助けてあげるのは当然なの。どうしてとか寂しいこと言わない。わかった？
うん。
Friends, huh? If she'd said, because you're my boyfriend, it might have felt like a whole new life for me was about to begin. But even if it was as friends, it made me so incredibly happy. Having someone else be nice to me. Having someone do something for me without expecting a reward. I didn't realize how happy that would make me. Maybe it was something I'd never experienced before. More than that, I feel very called out right now. Made me feel like I wasn't alone. Rimi was my salvation. The urge to throw up finally subsided, and I felt a lot better.
はい。使う？
She offered me a red handkerchief that smelled like flowers. I took it, but I was hesitant to use it.
汚しちゃっていいよ。タクにあげる。
ありがとう。
I felt guilty, but at this point, I decided to just take advantage of anything she'd offer me. I wiped away the barf on the edges of my mouth. This was the first time a girl who wasn't in my family had given me a present. Wasn't sure if you could call it a present, though. But for somebody who was totally alone, like me, even something small like this was an incredible treasure. The joy and sense of relief made me feel like I was going to cry again.
それじゃあ帰ろっか。
She smiled innocently.
一緒に。
What she just said about me staying with me seemed, in her mind, to be a settled matter. I hadn't given an answer, but she didn't care. But of course, I didn't plan on saying no. I was afraid of being alone. I didn't want to be alone. Right now, Rimi was all I could rely on. But that didn't mean everything would be fine from now on. I could still choose a different route home than usual, and I kept looking over my shoulder. Did I say could? I still chose a different route home than usual, and I kept looking over my shoulder the whole way. Why does my ability to read just deteriorate so quickly? Danger seemed to lurk in every shadow. Each time I came to an intersection, I had delusions of Yua and Shogun lurking around the corner, and froze up, unable to go forward. I need to just slow down. I need to just slow down. Then Rimi would go ahead of me, looking down the street and turning back to give me a nod.
大丈夫。誰もいないよ。
I gave a sigh of relief and followed her. Rimi stayed with me, not seeming annoyed at all.
ねえ、聞いていいかな。一体何があったの？
I wasn't sure whether I could tell Rimi. If I told her and Shogun came after her too, that would be my fault.
話したくないなら無理に話さなくても。
いや、話すよ。
I started to speak. I was reluctant to get her involved, sure, But if I didn't explain what was going on, she wouldn't understand how desperate my situation was. I decided to ignore the risk to her for the sake of helping myself. She was the one who told me she'd stay by my side, so it was okay, right? I told her about Shogun, the one behind the New Gen murders. About his servant, Yua. That the two of them were after me. What had happened in front of the 107. I kept tripping over my tongue, but I managed to get it all out. When I told her about Shogun, the man in the wheelchair, she'd frowned a little. That was the thing I wanted to ask her about most. Now was the perfect chance to do it, too.
いたかな、車椅子のおじいさんなんて。
She didn't sound very confident.
思い出して。大切なことだ。
でも
She paused, as if she was about to say something that was hard to say.
そもそもあの時渋谷の駅前が無人だったなんてことなかったよ。いつもと同じだった。
So she hadn't seen anything strange at all that night. I'd hoped she'd tell me she'd seen the same things I had. Rimi and I had seen different things. Which of us had seen what had really happened? Was I just wrong? Was that empty Shibuya just a delusion of mine? But there was a problem then. That old man in the wheelchair in the empty Shibuya, Shogun. How could you explain him? If the empty Shibuya was just a delusion, then Shogun might be a delusion too.
駅前って人が多いでしょ。だから車椅子の人がいてもなかなか気がつかないだろうし。要するに見てないってこと。ごめんね、役に立てなくて。
Shogun wasn't a delusion of mine. I was sure of that. I thought he might be at first, but my opinion changed totally after I'd seen the video chair, you know! Wheelchair isn't even on the screen! How am I doing this? After I'd seen the video of the group dive. The Shogun who'd taken that video was real. That was proof he existed. But the empty Shibuya could have been a delusion, maybe. Shibuya had been filled with people then. It had just looked empty to me, that was all. But what did that mean?
ねえ、それよりお願いがあるんだけど、いい？
She put her hands together as if pleading with me.
CD を買いに行きたいんだ。せっかくここまで来てからちょっと寄っていきたいんだけど。
Oops.
いいかな？
To be honest, I wanted to get back to the base as soon as possible. I'd only taken this longer route home because I thought Shogun and Yua might be trying to set an ambush for me. I didn't want to go shopping. But if I refused here, I might upset Rimi. She might even get mad and leave me here. That would be bad. I needed her to stay with me. I didn't even think I could get back to the base on my own. In the end, I wasn't able to refuse. I followed behind her, fear increasing with each step I took. Hopefully, even Yua would be reluctant to attack me with this many people around. But I was more scared of the idea that Shogun and Yua could be lurking in the crowds than relieved by the thought of getting lost in them. Each time somebody came close to me, I felt myself screaming internally.
パトカーだ。
My body froze. I quickly hid behind Rimi. She was right. There were two police cars stopped in the street. 3 uniformed officers were standing next to them. The police were after me too. I hadn't actually done anything, but they were too stupid to understand that. I have to talk over these people. Were they looking for me, I wondered? But after a moment, I realized they weren't. They were staring at a crowd that was marching down the street. A protest, maybe? They were all carrying signs and waving flags. They even had sashes and headbands. There was a little girl in the rows of protesters, looking confused as she was pulled along by her parents. On her shirt, the words, "Whose eyes are those?" were written in black magic marker. I bit my lip when I saw it.
何 のデモだろうね。
The crowd was full of men and women, and the people were of all ages. As they marched, they'd sometimes yell out slogans. Drive the demons out of Shibuya!
悪魔
Some of the signs said things like, drive the demons out of Shibuya, or protect Shibuya from the terrorists. It was probably a protest over the Nugent murders. Protesting wasn't going to accomplish anything. If they had time to protest, they should just find and kill Shogun instead. Yeah, simple. Then I wouldn't have to feel so scared all the time.
タク行こう。
Rimi looked away from the protesters, seemingly disinterested, and began to walk toward the CD shop. Once inside, she headed straight for the indie CD corner. Unlike the J-pop section, there weren't many people there. She stopped in front of the P shelf and began to look for a CD. But she quickly gave up.
やっぱりないな。
An indie band whose name started with P. Could it be...
タクはファンタズムってバンドを知ってる？今話題になってるけど。
I should have guessed that was what she was after. Of course, I knew about them. I'd gone to a concert and even owned a CD. I nodded and she chuckled.
私そういう情報は結構疎くて最近になって知ったんだ。それで友達に借りようかと思ったんだけどなかなか手に入らないらしくて誰も持ってないんだよ。だから CD 買うしかないかなって思ってここ1週間ぐらいあちこち探してみたんだけどどこも売り切れ中。次はいつ入るんだろう。
僕
Do I have news for
持っ
you?
てる。
Rimi's eyes went wide.
持ってるって CD？
I nodded, and then Rimi... put her hands on my shoulders. We'll go good one this time. It's gonna be weird. I feel like it's gonna be... I'm getting a weird... My weird senses tingling. Her face was so close, and I almost flinched. The smell of her shampoo tickled my nostrils, and I could feel my face turning red.
ねえタク取引しよう。
Trade?
その CD 貸してくれたら
Oh, it's gonna be
意
extra
外に
weird.
私
I want to like last minute change just for the sake of not being super weird, but I've committed to this! Her face was dead serious. I gulped. Oh, what? Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared. Don't make it too weird. Yeah, not real. It's all woobly. Her cheeks turned a little red from embarrassment. Oh god. Then she spoke, as if she'd resolved herself to some big decision.
私のこと好きにしていいよ。
Couldn't believe what I just heard. She joking or telling the truth? I couldn't tell. I tried to look away from her, but before I could...
しゃがんで。
Oh no. Rimi glanced around, then pushed my shoulders down hard. Confused, I did what she said. Oh god, why did I do this? Why did I do this? I crouched down, leaning back up against the CD racks. I wasn't sure what she was doing, then she crouched down in front of me.
膝伸ばして。
Can I bail? Is this, can I like, is it too late? Am I committed to this? I think I'm committed to this. Did she mean for me to sit right on the floor? That was something Dokune's did, but I didn't want to do it myself. She grabbed my calf and forced it outward. I obeyed and splayed my legs out on the floor. Why did I do this? And then for some reason she got up on my legs like she was riding a horse. Giddy up! She put her finger to my lips. Shut up, she seemed to be saying. But we were right in the middle of the store. Rimi grinned as if she read my mind.
ここインディーズのコーナーってお客さんあんまり来ないよね。こう してしゃがんだら周りから見えなくなっちゃう。
Why did that matter?
ねえタク。
Remy put her face even closer to mine. I could feel her breath tickling my cheek. It was warm. Felt like I was in a trance, like I couldn't turn my gaze away from Remy's dewy eyes. They felt like they were drawing me in. Remy was staring right at me. And then she moved her hand up. Started unbuttoning my blazer buttons one after another. Why am I doing this?
何を
Remy didn't answer. She put a hand to my necktie. She yanked it hard to pull it off me, then began to undo the buttons on my shirt.
ねえ人が来る。
そうだね。人が来たらすごくまずいよね。
But despite what she said, her slender hands were sliding inside my shirt to touch my chest. I could feel their cold touch running along my skin. I really wish I had picked the red option. She probably just stabs you or something. Her smile was sweet and seductive. Usually Remy was bright and cheerful, and not very sexual at all. Seeing her like this made my heart race.
タクの胸ドキドキしてる。
Still going.
リミってテラエロス。
テラエロス？
Oh crap, I'd said what I was thinking out loud. I was just that rattled.
それってどういう意味
Oh
か
my
な？
god. Please, why must you go into detail?
タク。
No, why? It means you're really hot? Her fingers ran up my skin and toward my neck. It felt ticklish, but more than that, it felt good.
私のこと好きにしたくなってきた。
Help me! I let my instincts take over and nodded vigorously.
じゃあここでしちゃおうか。
Couldn't believe what I was hearing. Do it? Did that mean...
何を
Oh, thank Christ. Oh my god.
おーい。
Oh my god. Those... Oh, that's... I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Just, I... Future reference, pick the red one so you just get, like, stabbed or something. Suddenly, I came back to my senses. Remy was waving her hand in front of my face, looking confused. I wasn't on the floor. Remy wasn't riding my leg. We were just standing and facing each other.
どうしたの？急に意識がどこかに飛んじゃってたみたいだけど。
なんでもない。
落ち着け。
I took a step back from Remy and turned away from her to catch my breath. Crap, I'd had a naughty delusion. What an awful person. I mean, yeah, that was my fault. I knew it was gonna happen. I picked it anyways. I'm a bad person. I felt a strong sense of self-loathing. No, this was her fault for talking about giving me something in return. Anybody would start getting ideas if they heard something like that. Wait a second. What had she actually offered in return? That's true. We missed the actual detail.
話聞いてなかったでしょう。
うん。
じゃあもう一回言うけど、私のお気に入り CD を貸すっていうので手を打ってくれないかな。
は？
ねえねえ、いいでしょ？お願いします。この通り。
ああ。
Well, this is how it would actually happen in reality, right? Wait a minute. I wasn't into 3D girls. Why was I having these fantasies about Remy? I nodded, and she gave a little cheer of joy. It was so funny that I couldn't help but laugh, despite the danger I was in. I managed to get back to the base safely. Of course, it was thanks to Remy. I was grateful to her. I wish she hadn't refused me when I asked for a little time to clean up my room before she came in, though.
だって前に来た時に汚いっていうのはよーくわかったし、今さら片付けたって無駄だよ。かっこつけなくてもいいって私とタクの中でしょね。
Were we too close for that? My memories of Rimi were completely gone, so I didn't really know. Sometimes I was surprised at how overly friendly Rimi seemed. It didn't really bother me, but it was clear that there was a difference in how we felt about personal space. Was she really serious when she said she didn't care if I cleaned up my room? There were discarded food containers from the convenience stores on the floor and stacks of H-game boxes with XXX rated covers on the bed. Either Rimi was really brave, or she didn't see me as any kind of potential threat at all. I wasn't sure how I felt about either option. Rimi didn't seem to have noticed my discomfort at all, though. She sat down on the sofa and was staring at the lyrics booklet from the Phantasm CD. I sat down on my computer chair. At last, I could relax. Fear had worn me down today, but I didn't feel as tired as I thought I would, probably because Rimi was here with me.
さてどうしよっか。
She shut the lyrics booklet and gave a big stretch as she smiled at me. What should we do? Don't ask me. Rimi hadn't come here to hang out. She hadn't come to borrow a CD either. I was glad she was staying here, but what exactly were we supposed to do? Do we have to do anything? If this was an H game, we'd go straight to an H scene, but... No, I shouldn't be thinking about stuff like that right now. Yeah, we already had plenty of that. Too much. Being alone in my room with a 3D girl was already a tense enough situation. If I started having delusions, I might end up saying something I regretted. Silence. Rimi was sitting there, staring at the manga on the floor and the H games on the bed. This was awkward. I felt like I should say something, but the only things I knew how to talk about were anime and video games. I couldn't imagine Rimi knew much about either of them. It was Rimi who'd offered to stay with me. Maybe she'd say something. She was hoping for me to take the lead in conversation. She was asking the wrong person. I know that. Someone's gotta say something! I really hated dealing with 3D girls. I appreciated her being with me, but the silent pressure was unbearable. Part of the problem was how dark the room was. It made the mood feel kind of erotic. I mean... what wouldn't? I turned back to my PC, unable to bear the awkwardness anymore. There was something I had to look up. It was the idea I had had back at school, the one that might give me a hint toward finding the D-sword. Is it possible to turn the thoughts in your head into a video? What Senna had told me before about VR technology and how humans run on electricity felt like it could be a good starting point.
何してるの？
Rimi stood up and walked over to me. Should I explain? But how to explain? It felt like it felt like it would be a big pain in the ass.
ねえねえ、何してるか教えてよ。
Since I didn't answer, Rimi started poking me in the back with her finger. Couldn't just ignore her, right?
君はその妄想が現実になるって信じられる？
I forgot about deluddle. Gotta deluddle this right quick. I kept typing search keywords into the browser instead of looking back at her. If anything, I was looking at Seiratan as I spoke.
妄想が現実に？無理でしょう。もしそれができたら、人はとっくに万能になってるよ。
Anything they wanted, huh? That might be true. In your delusions, you could do anything, no matter how unreal. If those delusions could become real, that would mean the unreal could become real too.
それがどうしたの？
それに近いシステムがアメリカで特許あるんだ。
へえ、冗談でしょ。
I wasn't looking at her, but I could sense her giving me a sigh of disbelief. I decided to show her the image of the patent that Shiho had found for me.
これは
特許の証拠写真。
本当に
I just noticed the words prefrontal lobotomy, and that concerns me. She leaned forward and stared at the monitor. Her head was now right next to mine.
私英語って苦手。すごいね、タク。英語読めるなんて。
She was so close. Could even see the sparkle in her eyes as the monitor's light reflected off them. My heart skipped a beat again.
ねえねえ、どういうことか教えてよ。
She seemed to have taken an interest. I tried my best not to think about how close she was, moving my head so I could see both Saratan and the monitor at all times.
生まれながらに盲目の人でもビデオカメラみたいな映像機器を通すことでそこに映る景色が見えるようになるんだ。これ豆知識な。
ビデオカメラが目の代わりっていうこと？
そう VR 技術って言うんだよ。
へえ、もし本当だったらすごいな。
It is true. Senna said they'd even succeeded in testing it.
でも機械を使って目が見えるようになるのと妄想が現実になるってどうつながるの？私頭悪いからよくわかんないや。
As I explained my theory to Remy, I kept on typing keywords into the search engine, but nothing was coming up. I kept going anyway.
映像機器に映る景色も脳内で思い浮かべた妄想も電気信号だから。逆に考えるんだ。脳内に電気信号を送るんじゃなくて脳内から電気信号を送るって考えるんだ。
ほほう。
The responses were dull, almost blank. Maybe she didn't understand at all. I was tired of explaining things to her, so I just stopped talking. I focused on my research. I didn't really need her to understand anyway. It was just an idea I'd come up with. Remy was still nodding and murmuring even though I'd stopped talking. I decided to just ignore her. But no matter how much I searched, I couldn't find anything to back up my theory. I decided to change my approach and look at patents instead of just web pages. I went to the English site that Shio had told me about that had a list of patents. I would look and see if anything there could give me hints. After following a bunch of links, I finally found something similar to what Shiho had shown me before. It was a different patent document than the one for the VR device. That looks like it says Pisponder. I think it's Responder, and it's just like, you can't see the leg of the R, but it looks like it says Pisponder. That's very funny. I decided to read it immediately.
神経信号パルスを遠隔地からモニターし、それを映像および音声として再現する装置と方法。
For all I know, it does say Pesponder, and that's actually a word. Like, I don't know, science, man. It was just what I'd thought of. I leaned forward out of my chair.
これすごいぞ。
すごいの？何が何が？
簡単に言うとこれ他人の思考を盗撮する技術だ。
思考を盗撮。
In other words, you could use a special device to take a look at the images and sounds inside a person's head. And it even said you could monitor these nerve impulses with satellites. With this, you could read the mind of anybody on Earth.
本当にそんなことできるの？
That's terrifying.
SF 小説とかそういう類のものなんじゃ？
特許ってそのシステム自体が完全に仕上がってないと絶対に取得できないんだって。
That's what I'd read when I looked up patents online.
だからこれもちゃんとシステムが確立されてるってことだよ。
This wasn't fiction. If you had the money and technological prowess to make the system, you could do it at any time you wanted. Behave yourself. I remembered what Senna had said.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら、人の五感すべて、さらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか。
I hadn't found any source to confirm or deny that, so it was just a guess. But the theory I'd come up with had a source. Why wasn't this incredible news anywhere to be found in Japan? It felt like you could win a Nobel for it easily. I decided to search for things involving mind reading. Behave yourself. What I found was a record of an American court proceeding.
また英文だ。頭痛くなってきそうだよ。
It was pretty long, so I didn't feel like trying to read it all. I decided to use translation software on it, even if it meant I might end up with something a little off. The basic idea was something like this. Legal proceedings, plaintiff, N.K. Rabin, defendant, United States Department of Defense, Central Intelligence Agency. Plaintiff's claims. My thoughts are being scanned by a special device, recorded and sent somewhere via satellite. I'm a hostage to the satellites. I'm exposed to attack by multiple satellites night and day. 1. Tracking. 2. Mind reading. 3. Observation of my entire body. 4. Biofrequency attacks. 5. Audio attacks. 6. Inducement of physical weakness. Beginning in late December 1990, I have been shown artificially created dreams, including audio, visual, and voice content, during my sleep. Between the months of February and May 1992, I was a victim of biofrequency attacks, pain, torture, harassment. Weirdly enough, this doesn't sound like a court case that is outside of the realm of possibility. Like, I'm not even kidding. I could see this being an actual thing someone has filed. Which is, you know, it's just, could you not? I recognize that these were attacks upon my person, and beginning in February 1992, I began to record the following in my notes. Time, date, contents of particularly painful psychological attacks. These biofrequency attacks were performed upon every part of my body. The pain, torture, and harassment were finely tuned so that they would cause pleasurable sensations, exhaustion, and pain to parts, and sometimes all of my body. The major parts of my body that were affected are as follows. Chest, vision, abdomen, brain to cause sleep disorders, brain to cause me to have artificial dreams.
思考監視、思考盗撮、しかも国家ぐるみ。マジ？
私これ知ってる。何年か前に映画で見た。
That was just fiction, wasn't it? But these court proceedings were real. There were two possibilities. The plaintiff was just, whoops. Oh god, which one's the log button? Please tell me it's this one. Yes. There were two possibilities. The plaintiff was just crazy, or it was all real. It's hard to tell which one was true. After seeing the patent... After seeing the patent, it was probably real, but still. But Senna and Ayase weren't crazy, especially Ayase. Down in that tunnel, I'd seen her split into two. Yeah, that was weird. I hadn't seen the moment it happened, but when I turned around, Ayase had been there, and in her underwear too. And I had seen her pull the D-sword out from nowhere too. That wasn't a hallucination or a delusion. After seeing that, I couldn't call her crazy. But there was also what she'd said. So that strange thing I'd witnessed had happened because I'd seen it in my delusions? It was true that just before it had happened, I'd been thinking about Ayase in her underwear. For unrelated reasons.
力を持つ人の目にしか映らない。君には私の剣が見えているでしょう。それが意味するのは一
Was that what ISA had meant by power? The power to project delusions into reality. And it was possible that I had it. Alright. No. I was jumping to conclusions. So, this one doesn't seem like it's gonna be extra weird, so I'm gonna go with green again. Like... Okay, listen, okay, here. You just want attention. You just want to be a part. You just want to be a part of this. You can sit on my lap if you wish. Ugh. But behave yourself. You need to behave yourself and stop scratching my chair. What was I saying? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I was jumping into conclusions. Maybe there was a system that could use science to turn delusions into video footage, but that didn't mean psychic powers were real. Oh my god, kitty cat. Fine, sit there, behave yourself. Oh god, no. Stop. What has gotten into you today? Stop that. Listen. Behave yourself, okay? This is getting out of hand. But if maybe the way to get a D-sword involved is some kind of psychic power. Wait, what did I say? Maybe the way to get a D-sword involved some kind of psychic power. Is involved. I don't remember. And if I had that power, it might be worth trying. Give it the green. The power of green. I got up, leaving Remy behind as she stared at the computer screen, murmuring to herself. I went and picked up the toy D-sword in the corner of the room. I stood in the middle of the room and held it out in front of me, in the best approximation of an ESO character that I could do. I closed my eyes. This is either going to be super awesome or really awkward. In my mind, I envisioned a sword. Of course, the one I had in mind was beautiful, terrible, and impossibly sharp, just like the ones ISA and Senna had. I was good at having delusions. After all, I had all kinds of delusions all the time. If I wanted to, I could visualize them down to the slightest detail. When the image seemed firm in my mind, I grit my teeth and clutched the sword tight in both hands. Become real, 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 become real. Focus. Think of nothing else. What you're holding now is a real D-sword, not a toy. Real. My whole body tensed up. Now, show yourself to me. Bring me salvation. Protect me. I opened my eyes. The sword in my hands hadn't changed at all. It was still a cheap toy.
そりゃそうだよな。
Damn it. There was no such thing as the power to make delusion real. Well, because you believe that, that's what's holding you back, man. I was old enough to know that. I started to feel embarrassed that I'd ever believed it. I sighed and put the sword down. And then I felt a gaze from behind. I felt a prickling on my neck that made my hair stand on end. That gaze again? I could sense it clearly. I was being watched. Don't look at me. I'm not turning around. I refuse to turn around. This time, I didn't just sense a presence. I heard a voice. Maybe it was more like a sigh than a voice. Don't tell me. Had I just made a big mistake? I very quietly turned around. Remy was staring at me. Oh, she didn't look happy. She looked scary. Oh, so that was it. No wonder it felt so much stronger than usual. I didn't just feel like somebody was watching me. Someone was actually watching me. Don't confuse me like that. Wait, did that mean she'd seen me striking a pose with my ridiculous toy sword in the middle of the room? That was pretty embarrassing. Also, she looks pissed. What is going on? Why does she look so pissed off? The hell? Something seemed wrong. She was staring hard, intense and unblinking. But what she was staring at wasn't me. It was the toy D-sword. Why did she look so serious? She looked like a totally different person than she had a moment ago, when she'd been so confused by the patent. Awful memories came racing through my mind. Remy was on my side. She was on my side, right? But I didn't know everything about her. Did she know about the D-sword too? I gulped and slowly, timidly called out to her.
タク
So, Remy's gaze was locked on the toy weapon as she spoke. Her voice was flat and devoid of emotion.
その件だけど
Remy was on my side, right? She wouldn't betray me like Yua, right? If Remy betrayed me too, what would I do?
捨てた方がいいと思う。
どうして
My voice cracked. Did Remy know something about it?
だって
Remy finally turned her gaze to me. I looked away as quickly as I could. Because what?
だってもう高校生だし。
Remy suddenly grinned. She smiled at me mischievously. The sudden change knocked all the tension out of my body. Oh my god.
そりゃ男の子っていくつになってもそういうおもちゃが大好きなんだなってのはなんとなくわかるけど、さすがにそんな大きなおもちゃ一人で部屋で振り回してるのはどうかと思うよ。それが許されるのは小学生までじゃない？でもタクの個人的な趣味を私の前で披露してくれたってのはちょっと嬉しいかも。
I like how she's like, she's putting her foot down on this. Like, toys are for children, throw them away. And yet she has no problem with the shelves upon shelves of anime figurines. Like, what?
私にだけ秘密を教えてくれたみたいで。
What? I feel silly for being scared.
そもそもそれどこで買ってきたの？高かったんじゃない？
He's like, no, I gotta go. Don't give me a moment. I gotta go change my pants. No reason.
1万円渋谷の雑貨屋で。
へえ、1万円か。安いのか高いのかわからないけど。でもそんな大きなおもちゃが普通に売ってるんだね。私そんな大きなのを直接見たのって初めて。その雑貨屋さんに売ってるっていうのは誰かに教えてもらったの？
She was really interested in this. Was she interested in swords like these? Maybe she was secretly an otaku herself? She kind of made fun of me while I was holding it, but maybe she actually wanted one of her own? Wow, that's totally tsundere, lol.
自分で調べたネットで。
ネットか。すごいな。何でも情報が手に入るんだね。私は全然ダメ。パソコンなんてろくに使えないよ。で、その件って流行ってるの？
なんで？
タクはどうしてそれを買おうと思ったのかなって。
Should I tell her the truth? She was going to stay with me. She might end up looking for the real D-sword with me too. Maybe I should tell her.
これは偽物だけど本物があるんだ。
本物？
Remy seemed a little confused.
本物を持ってる人を僕知ってるんだ。2人いる同じ学校の。
Oh, don't actually share their names. I wouldn't advise that.
女子ね。女の子がこんなおもちゃを欲しがるかな。
本当なんだ。それにおもちゃじゃない。
あ、ごめん。
本物は光るんだ。それにすごい存在感で。僕それを探してる。それさえ手に入れれば僕は救われるんだ。
救 救われるって。
Remy looked surprised by what I was saying, but I was totally serious. Yeah, he's not doing a great job of explaining it. Having a D-sword would give me a way to fight back against Shogun.
それで鉄
I want you to help me find it, is what I wanted to say. But the thought of her saying no made me so scared that I couldn't ask. I threw the fake sword down on the ground and sat on the sofa. Then I sighed and closed my eyes. Maybe Remy would volunteer to help me find it? That'd make things so much easier. Maybe that was too much to hope for. But Remy had appeared out of nowhere to help me before, when I needed her most. So maybe...
とにかくもし本物があったとしてもそれこそ買ったりしちゃダメだよ。今タクが持ってるのはおもちゃだからいいけど本物ってことは銃刀法違反になっちゃうんだから。
My hopes were mercilessly dashed. Sob. Remy, I'm disappointed in you. Well, her reaction was the one most people would have. The only reason I felt differently was because after all the weird things that had happened over the past few weeks, I believed what Senna and Ayase had said. I just have to find the D-sword myself.
それでタク、
I could feel Remy sitting down beside me.
その本物の剣を持ってる女子って誰かな。
I wouldn't do it. I would not divulge this. I would not divulge this. This doesn't seem like a good idea. Her voice was coming right next to me. She was sitting right beside me. We were alone in a dark room, just the two of us. She was sitting right next to me. Emergency. We have an emergency here.
タクに女子の知り合いが私以外にいたなんてちょっとびっくり。
Don't do it.
も
Don't
し
do
か
it.
して
Don't do it.
彼女？
Did she have to ask that? Was she trying to tempt me, maybe? Why was she talking about girlfriends? Was she maybe going to tell me she wanted to be my girlfriend? And then there'd be a romantic mood between us. And then... No, I wasn't ready for that. I opened my eyes and shook my head. Both Ayase and Senna were very mysterious. And also a little crazy, probably. If they were 2D characters, they'd be really moe. But not in 3D. Especially Senna. Just talking to her terrified me. She felt like she could beat me up at any moment. I didn't want to get involved with her at all if I could avoid it.
そうか。ちょっと安心したかな。
Nope. Nope, not doing it this time. Red. Get stabbed! Or something like that. Something less awkward. What did she say? Oh crap, oh crap. My whole body froze. This is leading to where I thought it was, right? She meant what I thought she meant, right? She was trying to get me to say something here, right? What was I supposed to say? Was I supposed to give her the answer she wanted to hear? I mean, I liked the idea, but I didn't know if I was up for dating a 3D girl. I gotta make it... I glanced over at Remy, unsure of what to say. Did she change her clothes? That was quick. Huh? Remy's clothes had changed. She'd been wearing her uniform a second ago. Had she managed to change in the short time I'd had my eyes closed? No, of course not. My mind was having trouble keeping up with the sudden change. Also, it's not wobbly. That's concerning.
どうかした？
She seemed confused. She didn't say anything about her new outfit. What did that mean? Did she not realize it had happened, or was she just playing dumb? Was she wearing this the whole time? Looked at her outfit, trying my best not to look like I was staring. It's a cute outfit. Is this what she wore when she didn't wear a uniform? I'd only ever seen her in her uniform, so this felt very different. Her top was some kind of denim jacket. She was wearing a mini skirt. The long socks she'd been wearing a second ago were nowhere to be seen. In other words, I could see her bare legs. Her thighs looked smooth and thick. Why must you make me say these things? And the way she was sitting with her legs up with that miniskirt. Miss, why do you do this to me? I even picked the red one so it would just be different. So it wouldn't be this again. Miss Sakihara, I think I can almost see your panties. Actually, depending on the angle, it almost looked like she wasn't wearing any at all. Stop this! My eyes kept heading toward her skirt's visa. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? I tried desperately not to give in to the temptation. There's no escape. It doesn't matter which one I picked. I'm cursed. I'm cursed with this. The way she was sitting reminded me of the cover of the famous H game. It was called Thrown Away Sister, and it was famous enough to get an anime. Its first edition package had the heroine sitting just like Rimi was now. That illustration was so moe. I'd even used it as my PC wallpaper for a time. Was this a delusion? A hallucination? Or was it real? I am judging by the lack of shaky cam is real. That's my theory. That is what I've come to understand. Also, I like the bow she's got in her. It's cute. Crap, my little man. Oh my god! Stop! My little man was starting to boot up at the thought of what Rimi was wearing beneath her skirt. I could smell a sweet scent coming from Rimi's body. Her skin felt real in a way that figures in 2D never did. So, this was the power of 3D. All of my deeply held values were in danger of being wiped out. I told myself I wasn't into 3D girls, that I only loved 2D girls. But Rimi's body had a destructive power about it that threatened to eradicate those beliefs.
ねえタク
Rimi gave me an innocent smile, still seemingly oblivious to the fact that her clothes had changed.
私喉乾いてきちゃった。何か飲み物ある？
I stood up and headed to the fridge, happy to have something to take my mind off her before I exploded. I looked down into the fridge. I had a thing of soda, but I'd already drank out of it. Giving it to her would be weird.
ないなら買ってこようかな。コンビニって深センの駅前にあったよね。
I could sense Rimi standing up behind me.
ちょっと行ってくる。
She smiled and left the room without waiting for my answer. Left alone, I tried to think. What had I just seen? Was it a delusion after all? Rimi's clothes, the second ISA. What was it that had made these delusions feel so real? Was I the one who'd done it even? Did I have that power or not? If so, how could I use it? How could I get a D-sword? There were so many problems, I didn't even know where to start.
ただいま。
Oh my god! Rimi left just a second after coming back. What? Left just... I think they meant that the other way. She came back a second after leaving. She left after a sec... Alright, I think my brain is broken. And she was wearing her school uniform. She changed when she was outside? For what reason?
私財布持ってくの忘れてた。
Oh my god, this is absolute madness. Ow! Why? Rimi must not have noticed my confusion, because she just chuckled, reached her hand into her bag, and took out her wallet.
レシ。それじゃあ改めて買ってくるね。
I'm losing it, man. I'm losing it. Then she left again, without bringing up her change in outfit at all. I put my fingers to my temples and moaned softly. Someone please explain what's going on. Decided to do some more research on mind reading while Rimi was out on her run to the store. I turned toward the PC and noticed that Grim was in the chat room calling for me. Nightheart, come downstairs, it's dinner time. I've got new info. Want to chat for a while? I know you haven't left your house today. Hey Nightheart, you there, Nightheart? I sighed and entered the chat room. Oh, I read those in reverse. Whatever. You're finally here. You took way too long, Nightheart. My mind's been going, whose eyes are those, this whole time thanks to you. Damn it. What does it even mean to go, whose eyes are those? You just wanted to say that. Every time I see those words, it scares me. What's your new info? New gen stuff, of course. It's happened. The 5th murder. Felt the same dark terror I always felt, but I also felt confused. I'd felt sure Shogun and Yua were going to come after me at next, but instead they'd gone after somebody else. Of course, it was hard to say if I should be happy about that or not. I'm scared. These things are brutal. And I'm like worried about what the next one's gonna be. Want to know more? It's on the top page of Taboo News. You'll find it easily if you look. Oh, stop, please. Why are you doing this? It's okay. You don't have to. You don't need that. Hey. They found the body last night, but the victim died the day before. This is another crazy one. You see, they took out the guy's brain. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Hey, it's okay. Hey, it's okay. You just feeling lonely? Is that all? You think constant attention? I don't have constant attention for you. I have a little bit. I can give you a little bit for a moment. All right, see you later. Good talk. I panicked as Grim started to give me the details without warning. I'd already heard and seen enough disgusting stuff. I didn't even want to hear about it. If I did, I might end up imagining it happening to me too. I didn't even have my D-sword yet either. But Grim continued, oblivious. And that's where it gets really... Here's where it gets really scary. How do you think they died? Malnutrition. They survived losing their brain. What the fuck? My body shook with fear. I pulled my knees close to me and wrapped my arms around them. I mean, I know they're gonna show me a picture. I'm like... Oh boy. I didn't want to hear anymore. Just please leave me alone. My HP was already at 0. They were in something like a state of brain death. They might have been stuck like that over a week, with no brain. They can't eat and can't drink, so their body just rotted away from malnutrition. Atchan already named it brain dead, they're calling it. Those guys picked the best names. Yeah, it's pretty uninspired. Here's the best part, or the funny part. The guy was a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist losing his brain. Talk about ironic. Psychiatrist. Looking at the words made my heart race. Maybe I was overthinking things, but I didn't want to know. Part of me felt like I had to. Oh no. I hesitated for a long time, but finally I clicked the link about the brain dead story at the top of the Taboo News. Oh. No! Body of man found in Shibuya, 5th new gen case. Fumio Takashina, psychiatrist at Tokyo General Hospital, was found collapsed on a Shibuya street early on the morning of the 23rd. Police have stated that he died from malnutrition. Mr. Takashina's skull had been cleanly cut open and the brain removed. The police stated that there was a possibility that the body had remained alive after the brain's removal in a state similar to brain death. Investigations revealed that Takashina had been absent from work starting from the 10th of this month. Shibuya had been the subject of national attention since last month, when a series of bizarre murders called the New Generation Madness began. Police are treating this murder as potentially related. That sucks. Man. The victim's name was Fumio Takashina. It was Dr. Takashina. Dr. Takashina had been killed. They were taunting me. Shogun was clearly taunting me. He killed Dr. Dr. Takashina, the man I was counting on to help me, just to scare me more. I screamed. My head felt like it was tearing itself apart. I was going crazy. Looked around the room for Rimi. Kept looking and looking and looking. She wasn't here. She wasn't here. She wasn't here. Why wasn't she here? She left to go to the store. I fell to the ground, head in my hands.
僕を助けて、リミ。助けてよ。どこにも行かないで。頼むよ。
There was an answer. I gasped and looked up, and Rimi was standing right next to me, holding a bag from the store.
リミ。
She was back. Whew. Relieved, I stretched out a hand. Rimi crouched down and took it with both hands. The last time I'd touched them, Rimi's hands were cold. But now they were so warm.
ここにいる。私はここにいるから。
That's one less problem to worry about.
怯えないで。
Rimi smiled gently at me and wiped my tears away with her fingers. I was really pathetic. Crying, screaming, being afraid like this in front of a girl. But Rimi said she'd be with me anyway. Right now, the only thing keeping my mind from shattering was this warmth. I didn't want to let go of this hand, not until I had the D-sword. Something very strange was happening at Miyashita Park in the depths of night. Whose eyes are those? 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 Large group was huddled in the middle of the park. There were at least 100 people there, probably more. Most of them were in their teens, some were in their high school uniforms, while others were girls wearing fashionable clothes. There were boys wearing otaku-style glasses too, and even ganguro girls, a rare sight these days. I don't even know what that is. I guess I could doodle it later. From a distance, it looked like there was some kind of local event, but if you got up close, you realized just how strange it was. Everyone was looking down at the ground with blank stares on their faces. Also, this chatter in my ears is driving me nuts, and I think that's the point, but holy God, stop! Everybody shut up! There were so many people here, but nobody was talking to each other. They were just standing there, unmoving. Everyone was smiling a little as they mumbled and muttered to themselves. They were all endlessly repeating the same words. Whose eyes are those? There was no emotion in their voices. The words came out of the mouths of 100 people, flat and toneless as a monk reciting a sutra. Of course, there was almost nobody else in the park, probably because they didn't want anything to do with the strange crowd. The women cutting through the park on the way home from work, the old ladies walking their dogs, they all turned and ran when they saw this bizarre sight. Yeah, that's fair. There was one man, though, who was watching them carefully. He seemed to have some involvement with the group, but he was standing a good distance away. He was wearing an outfit that would have fit right in at Akihabara. Plaid shirt, jeans, beat-up sneakers, fingerless gloves, a red bandana with a huge green backpack on his back. He was badly overweight, and his shirt buttons seemed like they might burst at any moment. It was late October, so the weather was cold, but he was sweating and constantly wiping his forehead down with a hand towel. He seemed worried about something, as every few seconds he would look around and check over his shoulder. Between these checks, though, he would let his shoulders sway and grin with joy. There was another sound in the park alongside the strange chanting coming from the group. It was... oh my god, it's real fucking with me. It was the sound of some kind of machinery, and it was coming from his backpack. Another teen came into the park, this one a teenage girl in an unbuttoned blazer. She walked toward the rest of them, showing no signs of fear at the strange chanting. Her long black hair flowed in the wind with every step she took. Black hair? I guess it's supposed to be black. It's just purple. Like, let's be honest. It's purple. That's purple. That color is purple. For some reason, she had a half-eaten popsicle in her hand. The group ignored her completely. They were lost in their own world, endlessly repeating the same phrase over and over. The fact that they ignored her didn't seem to bother her at all. When she got close to the group, she suddenly stopped. She stood for a moment, eating her popsicle with an air of indifference. You could hear the sound of crunching ice coming from her mouth when she took a bite. When she finished her popsicle, she looked at the stick, then grunted in frustration and threw it on the ground. Oh my god, wait, like, it's worse when you hear, like, one of the voices distinctly. Like, it just sounds like the most chaotic mumbling, but then sometimes just one of the voices you can hear over the rest of them, and that's the part that gets me. Her gaze was sharp as she examined each individual in the crowd. The man with the backpack screamed, as if he couldn't take it anymore. The girl, Senna Aoi, had noticed that he was the only person paying any attention to her. She snorted derisively at him, then suddenly crossed her hands and stretched them out in front of her. The space around, like this? The space around her hands seemed to blur slightly, and the fuzzy outline of a metallic pole began to appear out of thin air. Whoops. It passingly resembled a hoe, or maybe a shovel, but it didn't really look like either of them. It was a sharp blade that split just above the handguard. The blur faded away and the weapon became solid. Senna grabbed it tightly with both hands. But that wasn't all. Both ends of the blade she was holding, as well as the space off to its right side, began to glow with blue light. Oh, that's bad. That sword is so cool. I love that type of, like, sword design with, like, the two blades. Ah, it's so cool. More metal parts appeared in the glowing space, just like before. Then, with a heavy clanking, they fused themselves to the first blade. In the end, they formed a ring, and a long trail of light stretched out to its right. A long blade, split as if in half, appeared alongside the light. What had started as a sort of hoe or shovel had now become a massive sword. God, that's so cool. It's so cool. Sharp and elegant, pure and destructive, terrible and beautiful. The impossibly large weapon was now held tightly in Senna's hands. The man with the backpack didn't react. He simply frowned and stared at Senna. The tone of his voice, which was high-pitched for a man, was arrogant and brash. He waved a hand, shooing her off. Senna quietly opened her mouth to speak. It was more of a rhetorical question than an actual one. Her eyes were locked on the man in the backpack. He started to get scared. The man went pale and stepped back, but didn't answer her question. The crowd continued to murmur, "Whose eyes are those?" without showing the slightest bit of interest in them. If anything, it seemed possible the crowd didn't even see them at all. Senna and the backpack man were both staring at each other. The first to look away was the backpack man. Senna fell silent, swinging the sword around to her front and taking the fog stance. She bent her knees and leaned forward. What is the fog? Oh god, I don't remember which button brings up the... There. I do want to know. I've never heard that. I mean, maybe I've heard of that. I don't know. Yeah, oh, here! Etc. I don't know. Just seems like random gibberish to me, but... The stance is used in Japanese theatrical combat. The blade is held level with the hilt at the side of the head, and the tip pointed toward the enemy. The stance was often seen in older styles of Japanese swordsmanship. By holding the blade at eye height, you could slash it in an opponent's eyes. When thus blinded, it would feel like a fog had set in over their vision, which was how the stance got its name. That's really cool. I have seen that a lot. That's neat. Oh god, she's activated purple mode. The sword glowed again. But instead of the pale light it had been at first, it was now red-violet. There was a sudden sound, like a woman's high-pitched scream. The air shook. That wasn't any sort of metaphor or simile. The air was physically moving. Space itself had begun vibrating, centered around Senna's sword. The blade's red light had become so intense that it was hard to look at it. Senna let out a small breath, and then she gritted her teeth hard. Don't hurt me, please! The noise grew louder. Lightning bolts raced from the blade. A sonic wave blasted the air itself. The vibrating sound stopped immediately afterwards. But the blade was still flashing red, like a pulsing vein. Senna slowly pointed the sword toward the man with the backpack. The crowd around them, which had been ignoring them thus far, finally took notice. It seemed like they had regained their senses because they ran from the park without knowing what had happened. Senna ignored them, keeping her eyes fixed on the man with the backpack. The man had been indifferent before, but now he was afraid. His face was pale, and he was slowly stepping away from her, shaking his head as if to say no.
待って、俺は畑野なんてやつ本当に知らないんだ。ただ指示されただけ。
誤解するなと言ったはず。
Senna ignored the man's pleas.
質問したのはただの挨拶代わりだ。お前が何を答えたって、それを壊すことに変わりはない。
There was a fierce light in her eyes. The man with the backpack screamed pathetically before he turned and ran. But the direction he had chosen was right toward the stampeding crowd. With nowhere to run, he froze. By then, Senna had already leapt toward him, closing the distance in an instant. Awesome. Her strike was quick and powerful. So strong and so fast that it was hard to believe. It came from her frail body. She swung her blade in an arc, slicing through the man's backpack and destroying what was inside. The impact blew the man backwards. He fell onto the ground, curling up in a ball and shivering. He didn't have the strength left to run. He'd pissed himself in fear, and a damp spot was forming in his pants. Senna walked over to him, showing no interest in the man himself. Instead, she looked down into what was left of his backpack. There was a machine inside, shooting off small plumes of sparks. It looked like something like a bulky modem, but now it had been smashed to useless pieces by Senna's sword. The loud mechanical noise emanating from it a moment ago was nowhere to be heard.
Nozomi.
She whispered this name to no one in particular. There was hatred in her voice. Alright. As autumn grew deeper, the air got colder. It was hard to believe that I'd been wearing short sleeves just a short while ago. The sky above me was hazy, like its colors were starting to fade. The leaves at the park were brightly colored, though. Maybe the trees were stealing the color from the sky. I looked up at the sky and jammed a toothbrush in my mouth. The nice thing about the base was that I had the whole roof to myself, without worrying that anyone would see me. The sink was on the shipping crates outside, which made it rough when it rained. But on days when the weather was clear, I always brushed my teeth outdoors. I rubbed my sleepy eyes as I brushed my teeth, remembering what had happened yesterday. Rimi had stayed with me until late night. She'd even held my hand for the hour or so it had taken me to calm down. She'd gone home without anything else happening, though. Boy and a girl in the same room for hours, and nothing romantic happened at all. If I had the conversational skills necessary to make something happen, though, I would have had a girlfriend ages ago. If anything, I was disgusted at myself for hoping something would happen at all. Rimi was trying to help me purely as a friend. Rimi offering to stay with me was one of the few things even keeping me together. Having that support made a huge difference. Despite the shock of Dr. Takashina dying in the brain-dead murder, a day later I was actually feeling fairly stable. What was up with the other Rimi's clothes, though? Yeah, that was weird. She was way too real to be a hallucination. I couldn't imagine that she'd found a way to change her clothes that fast right next to me, though. She had no reason to do so anyway. Which meant it was like how Ayase had split. It was my delusion. The power to project delusions into reality. Did it really exist? Was Shogun after me because I had it? If I did have that power, memories from when I was young came back to me. That day I hadn't been able to go on the field trip. The day I was the only one who didn't get in the accident. The bus had crashed and all my classmates had gotten hurt. My teacher, Mr. Saito, had died. I'd seen the images in my head so clearly. I could see every detail. Was that really just me seeing the future? If, maybe, that wasn't me seeing the future, but just my delusion. What if I'd made that delusion a reality? My whole body felt like it was about to start shaking. I wrapped my arms around myself to keep my body still.
だとしたら僕は
I was a murderer.
おはよ
Rimi was there. She was incredibly cheerful for it to be this early in the morning. Seeing her smile made my shaking stop. It was so strange. Why was that so hard to read for me? Normally, I couldn't stand being around 3D girls, but for some reason, being with Rimi made me feel better.
う。迎えに来たよ。なんでポッカーンってしてるの？
Oh, right. According to my schedule, today was a school day. When I told Rimi about that yesterday.
迎えに来てあげるって言ったよね。
Right. Thanks to Shogun, I was afraid to even go outside now. That was why Rimi had offered to stay with me. She was keeping her promise.
まさか本当に来るとは思わなかったとか？ビシッ。残念でした。こう見えても私尽くすタイプなんだ。
She gave me a mischievous wink. Was this an H game? I sure hope not. In the real world, your female classmate didn't come to pick you up on the way to school. It would have been even better if she'd come into my room when I was still asleep and woken me up. But you can't have everything, I guess. As I lost myself in my silly delusions, Rimi suddenly looked up at the sky. She was looking at something far away again.
冬の空が色あせたように見えるのはどうしてだと思う？
Sunlight contains a spectrum of 7 colors, the same colors seen in the rainbow. For those 7 colors to reach the human eye, they have to pass through Earth's atmosphere. When that happens, a phenomenon called scattering occurs. Basically, the light collides with the molecules in the air and gets bent in random directions. When the light bends in random directions, it starts flying all over the place. The more it scatters, the easier it is for it to enter the human eye. And when the colors which scattered the most easily were purple and blue. That's why the sky was blue. I am very smart. Me am super smart. But Rimi's answer was very different from my dull scientific one.
きっと寒くてみんなが下を向いちゃうから青を望む人の数が減っちゃうの。
Rimi had said something like that before. But when was it again?
だから寒くても上を向いて歩こう。
I quickly changed, and Rimi and I left the Kurenai building together. Together. Going to school with a girl was something normal people did. I was still scared of Shogun and Yua, and I hated them and wished they would die. I meant it too. It wasn't just something I was saying. But thanks to them, I was able to experience what a normal person's life was like. Maybe I could be a little grateful. Just a little. Or at least I tried to make myself think that way. But when I did, Dr. Takashina's face came back to me, and any joy I felt slipped away. It might have been my fault he was killed. Dr. Takashina was connected to me, so Shogun had killed him, either as a warning or as a way to provoke me. But I was overcome with fear and worry. Little by little, I was starting to fall behind Rimi. I took a quick glance at the back of her head. What kind of look was on her face? She was humming a song. It's a song from the Phantasm CD I'd lent her last night. Her steps looked light and carefree. We weren't even talking. How could she seem so happy? Looking at her helped my worries a little. But to be honest, why was she being so nice to me? Was the answer inside my memories of her? The ones that I didn't remember? When we got to school, I sent her on ahead and went to the bathroom. This was another survival technique of mine. I really appreciated that she was doing all this stuff for me, but going to school with a girl in tow would mean standing out way too much. In particular, there was no telling what the Dokuns in my class would think. So, to make it look like I'd come to school alone, I slipped into the bathroom and killed some time. This turned out to not work, however. I left the bathroom, trying my best to act natural, and kept my head down as I walked on the side of the hallway toward my classroom. Before I got there, though, I could see Ayase walking toward me. Our eyes met, and her lips curved into a slight smile. Ayase was famous. I didn't want to risk attention by talking to her, but she stood right in front of me, blocking my path. I didn't have a choice.
匠、あれから警察はどう？
Put a hand over my mouth to stop myself from screaming. Why would you talk about something like that with all these people around? I quickly looked around. This was incredibly bad. Ayase was a local celebrity. It was rare enough for her to come to school, but not only that, she was the vocalist of the famous band Phantasm, and was pretty to boot. Everyone, boys and girls both, were interested in her. Normally, there'd be no way she'd ever talk to a loser like me. The gazes of the people around me were causing me physical pain. I wanted to run away.
剣を探して。君はそうしなくちゃいけないのよ。
He's looking! He's trying his best! She always said the same thing whenever we met. There was a chance Ayase was on my side, but having her say the same damn thing every time was getting on my nerves. I wanted to find it too. I just didn't know how.
ヒントが欲しい。君はどうやってあれを手に入れた？
いつの間にかそこにあった。
That again? She just screwing with me?
気づかなかったわ、最初は。でも、ちょっとだけ見方を変えたら、わかった。もしかしたら、匠にももう見えているのかも。見ていないだけで。
What the hell did that mean? Talking to Ayase was always exhausting. It's like it was like some weird Zen koan thing?
剣はちゃんと探してるよ。僕だって絶対手に入れたいから。
I sighed as I answered, and then the gazes of the people around me grew too much to bear. I ran past Ayase and into the classroom. What I found there only made me feel worse. Misumi and some of the other boys were staring at me in shock. Crap, they'd seen me talking to Ayase. This was bad. I didn't know what they were going to say. If I was lucky, they might just make fun of me, but there was also the chance they might do something a lot worse. I looked down and headed to my seat, trying to make myself as small as possible. Please, just let everyone leave me alone.
おいおいおい
My prayer went unheard.
タク、てめえいつの間に今、岸本と話してたよな
The most I could do was shut up. I couldn't look up.
岸本が誰かとまともに会話してるとこ初めて見たぜ一体どんな手使ったんだよ
Please don't talk so loudly that the rest of the class can hear. Please just leave me alone. I'm not going to try and date Ayase or something. It's not like I'd have a chance anyway. So please, just calm down.
なあタク、教えろって
大地
Rimi interrupted.
落ち着け。タクが困ってるでしょ。
悪い悪い
Misumi dropped his voice low and patted me on the back. I sighed a little without looking up. Rimi had saved me again.
で、実際のところどうやったんだ
Misumi was, as always, a man who thought only with his little head.
もう大臣ってほんと節操ないよね。そのうち彼女さんに刺されるんじゃない？
心配すんなって。俺こう見えても各種ケアは欠かさねえから。
Oh my god. Oh my god.
何それ？
なあタク、教えろよ。岸本とはどんな感じなんだ？
Misumi was rubbing my shoulders. He wouldn't let the subject drop. I looked up, afraid. Half the boys in the class were whispering to each other and glancing at me. This was bad. They were still looking at me. Don't look at me. I felt the prickling at the back of my neck. The Dokuns came after me. I was finished. My life would become a hell of bullying. What should I do? Run, cut class, and go home? But I couldn't go home alone. The thought of running into Shogun or Yua was too much for me. Have Rimi come home with me? She'd said she was the caring and devoted type. If she wasn't lying, she'd skip school alongside me. I just needed to get out of here as soon as possible. Suddenly, there was a loud noise at the entrance. Everyone turned to look at it. It was the transfer student. She was rubbing her tear-stained eyes and bowing in apology to everyone she could see. As always, she was completely silent. The entire classroom also fell silent at this sudden development. What had just happened?
今の見たか？
見た。一人で勝手に扉に激突してたね。
やっぱ梢ちゃんは可愛いな。
I'd never seen somebody so klutzy outside of an anime.
また泣いた。大丈夫かな？すごい音してたけど。
Rimi whispered, worried, and then headed to the transfer student faster than anybody else. She was pretty nosy from the look of it. Maybe kind was a better word. Yeah.
リミに先越された。
Don't be a
待て待
dick.
て。梢ちゃんを解放するのは俺だ。
Oh my god. Misumi shouted as he raced after her. Kozue's accident was, for me, good luck. All the boys who'd been staring at me were now looking at her. Good job, transfer student. But I happened to hear what some of the girls are near me were saying.
うざ。何あれ。狙ってやってんじゃん。
Oh my god. Children. Just a few faint whispers. I hate school. I hate school. I hate school in every aspect. Except the learning part.
視界にはデッドスポットと呼ばれる通常は使用されることのないいくつかの神経チャネルが存在することをご存知ですか？
それが第二世代と何か関係があるのかね？
Why do I still hear the like classroom ambient noise? This is weird. I like there's still like chatter, but this is like a completely different scene. I'm not making that up, right? That's yeah, I can see it on the weird.
そういうことになります。
I don't know if that's deliberate or not. If that's on purpose or just like not.
簡単な実験をしてみましょう。
Is this happening in the
これをご覧
classroom?
ください。
子供魂を聞いている暇はないぞ。
I'm playing along. All right, what do you got? I love like visual illusions and like optical illusions. I love shit like that.
重要なことですよ。この図には左側にドット、右側にリングがあります。
Mm-hmm.
では左目を手で覆って見えないようにしてください。そのまま右目だけで図の左側にあるドットを見つめてください。
The dot, okay.
いかがですか？ドットを見つめる目の端の方にリングも存在しますか？
Yes.
いくらドットだけを見つめていても 隣にあるリングがついでに見えているのは当然だと思うがな。
では先生、ドットだけを見つめたままモニターに顔を近づけていってみてください。隣のリングはどうなりますか？
Hold on. Okay. So, that bring your face closer to the monitor. All right. I can still see the ring. Unless I'm doing it wrong.
これは
I might be doing it wrong. I'm gonna do it with this monitor. All right. All right. Whoa! Whoa! Like right there. I can't. It like, I can see it. Right there. I can't see it anymore. And then I can see it again. That's weird. That's weird, dude.
興味深いね。
Oh my god, that's weird.
右側のリングが消えた。そうですね。これは視界が狭まったからではありません。
But then it
その
comes
証拠
back.
にさらにモニターに近づくことでリングはまた視界に現れます。
That's so weird, dude.
これは一体どんなトリックだ？
いいえ、トリックの類ではありません。
I love shit like
普
that.
段は使用されていないですが、人間が元から持っている目の機能の一つですよ。これはデッドスポットと呼ばれ、ノアによって人間の視界の中に無から有を作り出す際に使用するチャネルなのです。
Huh. That was definitely the highlight of this one. That was great. That's so weird, dude. Classes had ended, and I was standing by the school entrance. Twilight was spreading over the sky. Several crows were silently flying past me, flapping their wings as they receded into the distance. I was waiting for Rimi. She was on cleaning duty today. She hadn't promised to walk home with me today, but I was sure she would. I'd been standing here for over 15 minutes waiting for her. I got my hand on my glasses. I gotta wipe them off. Worth it. Misumi had been... Oh, did I skip one? I skipped one. I wasn't sure what would happen tomorrow, but I'd made it through today. Misumi had been so desperate to talk to the transfer student that he'd forgotten to ask me any more questions about ISA. Thank you so much, transfer student. Oh boy. Alright. I'm feeling red. Let's do a red one. Apparently it doesn't matter. Like, I every time I think, alright, I'm gonna try to avoid the weird suggestive shit. It doesn't matter. It just does it anyways. So, red away. At this point, I'm flipping a coin. Speak of the devil, she'd just come walking by. She bowed at me, looking like she was about to cry. I bowed back awkwardly. And then I watched her slowly walk toward the school gate. I realized again just how small she was. She had the body of a lolly. And she was a klutz, too. I wasn't sure about her personality, but it was probably very sweet. She ticked all the moe checkboxes. But the other girls didn't like her, supposedly. I guess there's a difference between 2D and 3D. Suddenly, my vision went black. I could feel the pressure on my eyes. What was happening to me? That was very loud in my ears. Could it be the legendary Guess Who scene? But scholars said it only existed in 2D. In 3D, it was just an urban legend. I never thought I'd get to experience it myself. In this moment, I became one of life's winners. So funny. Of course, I knew the answer right away. I trained myself on identifying voice actors just by listening to their characters. I have like a list of 5, maybe 6 voice actors that I can hear and be like, ah, yes, that is. But I'm not good with names, so like my list is like 6. But it was too embarrassing for me to say, Remy, right? No. How should I answer? What was the sound? Oh god, it's the wheelchair!
どう？答えわからない？
Someone was there. Oh my god, that wheelchair is so effective. I sent somebody there who wasn't Remy. With my vision closed off, my other senses were heightened. There was another person here. And the sound of creaking metal. Was it?
その目誰の目？
A sense of terror raced through my body. I tried to knock away Remy's hands, but she resisted.
ちょっとちゃんと答え言ってよ。ズルしちゃダメなんだから。
This was weird. It didn't make any sense. Why was she acting so innocent? Didn't she notice? Or was she just pretending not to notice? The fear of not knowing what was going on around me was unbearable. Remy's slender hands were still over my eyes. The worst part is now they're getting me because there's nothing on screen, so I can't even tell if there's like a woobly effect on it. I don't even know. I grabbed them and tried to pull them off.
タク？
Remy kept resisting. We ended up struggling against each other, and her body pressed into my back. I could feel the soft sensation of her breasts. Priorities. But it didn't have it in me to enjoy them right now. Priorities.
離せ。
I escaped Remy's grasp, leapt away and turned around.
どこだ？将軍はどこに？
Remy was standing in front of me, looking confused. I looked around. I tried to find the wheelchair. It wasn't there. He wasn't there.
いない。そんな。
I couldn't see him anywhere. He wasn't outside in the yard or at the entrance. I couldn't see any sign of him, any sign at all of an old man in a wheelchair.
タク、ごめん。びっくりさせちゃった。
Remy looked apologetic. It was hard to believe she was faking it.
今いなかった。
何が？
車椅子の老人が。
Remy looked confused.
いないよ。私は見てない。その人と一緒だったの？
違う。そうじゃなくて。そうじゃなくて。
I was starting to lose confidence. I was sure I'd heard it, but did I really? The creaking sound of the wheelchair, Shogun's mocking laugh. And then, whose eyes are those? Did I hallucinate that? Was I on edge? Was I that on edge? Yeah, that had to be it. Nothing more.
大丈夫だよ。
Remy's smile looked forced to me.
私が一緒に帰ってあげるから。怖がらないで。
Her words made me feel better. I let her walk ahead of me as we headed for the school gate. My school, Suimei Academy, was in the luxury residential district of Shoto. All the houses in the area were expensive and gave off a sense that the people who lived there were important. But even though it was just a few minutes away from the heart of Shibuya, there weren't many people out. It felt kind of lonely.
タクって意外とモテるよね。
She'd startled me so much I was gasping for air. What the heck was she talking about?
あれ？自覚ない？
She smiled and pointed her finger at my nose. You aren't supposed to point at people, you know.
だってこの前はメガネかけた3年生の綺麗な人と一緒だったし。
あれは。
うん、昨日聞いた。タクに意地悪する人だよね。
If you knew that, then why...
で、今日はあのフェスと話してた。あと折原さん。転校してきた朝に真っ先にタクに声をかけてたよね。さらに今こうして私と一緒に帰ってる。ほら、モテモテだ。
She does have a point. This was something I'd been thinking about lately, too. Am I about to get a girlfriend? Is this a new amazing chapter in my love life? Things like that. A month ago, I never would have thought it was possible. Back then, I'd never even had a chance to talk to any girls, except Nanami. She doesn't count. I'd even lied to myself and everybody by saying I wasn't interested in them. How come I'd had so many more chances to talk to girls over the past month? It had all started when Shogun had entered the chat room. So part of me wondered, was this whole past month just my delusion? Was I having a long, long dream? It felt like the things I was experiencing right now might all just vanish tomorrow. Sometimes it seemed that way anyway. Or had the person inside me changed? Maybe the person controlling me right now, maybe the person controlling me before now just loved to play by themselves, and the person controlling me now liked working with other characters? Either way, it was hard to believe that this past month was real. Too much had happened.
っていうか、私今日初めて知ったんだけど、フェスって同じ学校だったんだね。しかも同学年の隣のクラス。
Rimi's voice took on an excited tone. She must really be a trend follower.
昨日タクから CD 借りたばっかりだからすごくびっくりしちゃった。それにすごく可愛い子だし。
Rimi came around to my front. Her tone dropped to a low, hesitant one as she spoke, still walking backwards.
何話してたの？今朝フェス岸本さんと聞かせてほしいな。
I don't like this.
私には
I don't trust
権利なん
this.
てないかもって思うけど、でも岸本さんと話してた時のタク、すごく思い詰めた様子だったから、なんだか心配で。
She'd even seen that too? Maybe it was safe to tell Rimi everything. There wasn't anybody else I could talk to about it, and I was just getting tired of thinking about things on my own. I wanted somebody else's opinion. Not somebody like Ayase or Senna, who'd just say weird, abstract things that didn't make any sense. Somebody who could clearly tell me what they thought. But, well, when I talked to her yesterday, she hadn't believed a word I'd said.
話してたのは剣のこと。
剣って昨日タクが言ってたやつ？
I nodded.
綾瀬は持ってるんだ。
Oh, I don't know about this. I don't know about this, Chief.
何を？
本物を。
Rimi gasped, or I thought she did. Her eyes went wide, and she seemed to stagger back a few steps.
嘘だ。
She sounded really doubtful.
だってあれおもちゃでしょ？
だから僕のはおもちゃだけど、彼女のは本物で、ライブ行けば見られ。
I stopped in mid-sentence. Could she see it? Ayase had also told me that only people with the right power could see the D swords.
ライブに行けばその本物の剣を見られるの？じゃあ今度行ってみようかな。ファンタズムのライブそのものも見たいし。あ、タク一緒に行く？
見られないかも。限られた人にしか見えないらしいんだ。
そうなんだ。裸の王様みたいなものかな。じゃあ私バカだから見えないかもなんてね。
I wasn't sure if she could see it or not. I didn't know how a real D sword worked anyway. I was just going off of what Ayase had said.
そんな剣本当にあるのかな。やっぱり私信じられないよ。タクが見たっていう岸本さんの剣も本物っぽく見えるおもちゃじゃないの？
でも光ったし。
おもちゃでも光るやつはいくらでもあるよ。
That's true. Or I mean, the main thing is the usage of it in situations where nobody says anything. They clearly can't see it. That's the thing that would tip me off. Is like I think it was Senna, but just walking through town holding this giant ass sword, just like nobody's saying a word. That's the part that gets me, not the glowing. Well, I couldn't deny that. You could just add some lights to get a glowing effect. But the way Senna and Ayase's swords had felt so real, so powerful, I couldn't believe that they were toys. They had an aura about them that a fake toy could never create. And more than that, Ayase had pulled the sword out of thin air. Also that. It wasn't super speed or hypnosis or anything fake like that. What I'd seen was a glimpse of an incredible power.
僕には妄想を現実に投影する力があるかも。
I was far from certain myself, but I decided to share with Rimi the possibility that I'd been thinking about.
だから将軍に、狙われてる気がする。
There was no other reason for him to be coming after me, at least. There weren't many people out here there as harmless as me. Most otaku are harmless. They're stuck in their own little worlds. If they had oh my god. It's over. It's over. It's over. I have nothing. If they had time to spend bothering people in the 3D world, they'd rather spend it having fun in their minds with 2D girls. Can't read anymore. I shook my head.
そうじゃなくて、装置とかなくても力使えるかも。
たくからかってるんでしょ？あ、わかった。何かの漫画かアニメが元ネタ？
Rimi didn't believe me after all. But I had at least some reason to think it was true. The bus accident when I was in elementary school. I explained that to her too. I might be a murderer. I worried that telling Rimi might make her want to stay away from me, but I just couldn't help it anymore. I just couldn't keep it in anymore. I needed to share it with someone and get it off my chest. Rimi seemed lost in thought as she listened to me stammer out an explanation, and when I was done,
考えすぎだよ。
she just laughed it away.
そう考えてることだってタクの妄想なんだよ。わかってる？
Was I really overthinking it? I hoped so. But the weird feeling in the bottom of my heart didn't just go away. The little transition. The office smelled like dust. It was on the second floor of an aging mixed-used what? It was on the second floor of an aging mixed-used building. I don't know what that is, and my brain would not read it. Light poured in from the huge window in the back that covered the whole wall, making the dust in the air look like powder snow. The letters on the window that read Trustworthiness Investigation Company Frisia cast shadows on the desks beneath it. There were 20 desks in all, tightly crammed together. They were all piled high with folders and papers, in a way you might expect to see in a publishing office. Most of the desk's occupants were out, with only 5 or 6 people there. But the reason wasn't because it was a Saturday. There was a schedule on the whiteboard next to the entrance, and it was packed tight with writing. Yasuji-ban opened the agency's door right at the end of lunch break. He'd walked in without knocking, but none of the other people there had said a word. He gave them a friendly hey there as he headed straight for the desk furthest in the back, where the heavy-set woman was sitting at her laptop. The woman he'd called Momo was Katsuko Momose, the president of Frisia. She had an annoyed look on her face, and it refused to even look up.
ばんちゃん、また来たの？
また来ましたよっと。入所についての新ネタない？
たく、私は忙しいのよ。抱えてる案件が5万とあるの。うちみたいな零細企業は土日返上で仕事しなくちゃいけないの。わかる？
Only then did she look up at him. When she saw the grin on his face, she put her hand up to her forehead and shook her head slightly.
ここは警察の秘密組織でも子会社でもないって何度も言ってるでしょうに。ただで情報もらえるなんて虫のいいこと考えてるんだろうけど、ここに来てる暇があるなら自分の足で何とかなさいな公務員さん。または依頼料を払うこと。 予約表はみおちゃんにもらってちょうだい。
相変わらず冷てえ社長だな、おい。
Momose's attitude seemed to have no effect whatsoever on Bon. He waved his fan indifferently.
この会社立ち上げるときにはあんなに協力してやったのによ。
あら、バンちゃんも恩着せがましい人だわね。何年同じことを言い続ければ気が済むわけ？
まあ言っててくれ。じゃあ依頼料はこいつでどうかな。
Bon offered her a plastic bag with the logo of a local confectionery shop on it.
なんだ、あるなら最初から出してよ。いつも悪いわね。みおちゃん、お茶2つ持ってきて。
Momose's attitude changed completely. She called out to one of her employees and opened the bag to examine the goodies.
あら、栗羊羹、今が旬なのよね。わかってるじゃない。あ、バンちゃん、そんなところに突っ立ってないで座って。
どうも。
Bon chuckled as he pulled a chair over from a nearby desk and sat next to Momose. A female secretary brought over 2 paper cups filled with hot tea.
で、なんか新ネタあるかい？
ちょっと待ちなさいって。
Momose carefully peeled the wrapper off of one of the bars, folded it up, and set it off to the side of her computer. Then she popped open her mouth and tossed the first piece of chestnut yokan in. Momose was a woman who loved Japanese confections. Whenever he wanted to know something, Bon had to bring her some kind of treat.
おいしいわ、これ。
人に言えた義理じゃないけどよ。ちったダイエットしたらどうだよ。でないといつまで経っても結婚できないぜ。
Damn.
本当に人に言えた義理じゃないわね。私はもうとっくに今期は逃したわよ。
Momose shrugged and took a sip of her tea, then turned to Bon.
また新しいニュージェネ事件起きたわね。こんなところでサボってていいの？
そっちの調査は俺以外の全員が真剣に取り組んでるさ。俺は別のアプローチから真実に迫ってやるってね。
かっこつけちゃって似合わないわよ。
Bon decided to avoid the tea until it had cooled down. He couldn't handle anything, food or drink, that was too hot. The weather had turned cold, but he was still waving the fan at his face. It was a habit of his.
警察は G レートの線追ってるの？
そうそう、G レートね。ありゃすごいな。ももちゃんの話の通りだったぜ。
私が嘘の情報を渡すわけないでしょうに。これでおまんま食べてるんだから。それで？
まあ勝手に調べてるよ。
勝手にって。ちょっとバンちゃん。
Momose's voice echoed throughout the room. She was always a very forceful woman, and a loud one at that. The employees at Frisia were used to it, and none of them even raised an eyebrow at the noise. Not a day went by when Momose wasn't yelling at somebody. Bon had known her for years too, and he had been on the receiving end of her yelling dozens of times. Ironically, his reaction was to pick at his ears. Momose's tone had quickly dropped. This wasn't something she wanted anyone to hear. But the smile on her face that had been there when she was eating the yokan a moment ago was completely gone. It was replaced with a look of intense rage as she pointed her finger at his face.
個人で追うのは危険だって言ったじゃない。政治に宗教に企業、どれだけ根深く関与してると思ってるの？この間テレビで G レートの講義をやった太田教授がどうなったか、あんたもよく知ってるでしょ。
ああ、貼り付けで殺された被害者だろ。何度も聞いたよ。
何度でも言ってやるわ。ええ、言ってやりますとも。あんたはいつも私の忠告を無視するんだから。それでいつも尻拭いさせられるのは私なんてたまったもんじゃないわ。
まあまあそうか。だって茶でも飲んで落ち着いたら。
Momose's reaction was to go for a second piece of chestnut yokan, not the tea.
大丈夫だって。一応諏訪と一緒に動いてるんで。今はまだ G レートやらなんやらってのは突飛すぎて上を説得できねえなよ。
諏訪ちゃんは確かに有能だししっかりしているけど、 無理させたら承知しないわよ。
ももちゃんはいつから諏訪の保護者になったんだ？
あんちゃんの無謀な行動に未来ある若者が巻き込まれるのはかわいそうでしょうに。
え、そうか。
Bond shrugged. He tried taking a sip of the tea, but it was still too hot. He winced in pain.
しかしバイオリズムが人を殺す凶器になるなんてこと、本当にありえるのかね？
前に説明したでしょうに。
実はいまいち理解しきれてねえんだわ。それってももちゃんお得意の電磁波と関係してるのか
Momose sighed and drank her tea. Unlike Bond, it didn't seem to bother her.
満月の夜の事件簿はよく知ってるでしょ。
うん、まあな。
There were a lot of accidents and crimes on the night of the full moon. This wasn't an urban legend. It was something you could see for yourself just by looking at Tokyo police statistics.
その満月以上の力でバイオリズムカーブが上昇したらどうなると思う？
興奮するってことだろ？
それだけ？渋谷は特殊な街なのよ。言ったでしょ。 GE レートが高ければバイオリズムカーブは上昇する。しかもその上昇値は満月の夜に影響する数値のおよそ6800倍。
なんとも想像しにくい数字だな。
比べ物にならないくらいすごいって考えとけばいいわ。
しかしなんで今なんだい？
殺された太田教授が言っていたのは GE レートが半年前から急に増加しているせいってことね。地層の構造に大きな変化が起きない限りそんなことはありえないそうだけど。
変化ね。
そう、駅前のスクランブル交差点で火山が噴火するほどのエネルギーが必要なの。
I feel like I need to be taking notes.
火山？
I'm not gonna do that.
それくらい今の GE レートはありえない状況なのよ。
それを世間に訴えようとした教授はニュージェネで殺された。
事件の前日に教授が出演する予定だったテレビ番組が急遽放送中止になった話知ってる？
確かか。
知り合いに MHK に勤めている人がいて聞かされたの。
国営放送の番組に圧力かけられる立場なんてそうそうないぜ。
私も詳細についてはわからないわ。知ってたらとっくに告発してるだろうし。
Bond leaned forward, seemingly interested.
俺でも大体予想はつくさ。この際はっきり言っちゃってよ。
本気で聞きたい？社会の暗部に踏み込むことになるわよ。いいの？パンチャークビになるかもしれない。
俺はニュージェネ事件の犯人さえ捕まえられりゃそれでいいんだけどね。ま、どうするかは答えを聞いてから考えるわ。
Momose sipped her tea, using her left hand to type into the laptop. A document appeared on the LCD monitor. It contained a list of information she'd researched on her own.
明和党。
ももちゃん、勘弁してくれ。俺はてっきり野党の名前が出てくると思ってたんだがな。よりによって。
What is the Meiwa Party? Tell me. A fictional Japanese political party. One of the two major parties in Japan. The Meiwa Party presently controls both houses of the Diet and is the nation's dominant political party. Meiwa suddenly came to power in a general election 4 years ago. Before then was a relatively minor faction. Its slogan is a bright, peaceful future. Okay. Bond gave a soft, annoyed moan. But his eyes weren't laughing at all. They were filled with the sharp insight of a detective.
下手したらこの国が揺らぐぜ。
I couldn't really ask Remy to come over to the base over the weekend, so I spent 2 days alone and afraid. On Friday, Remy had bought me enough food that I was able to spend the weekend entirely indoors, but I was still afraid I was still afraid enough that several times I almost sent her an email asking her to come over. In the end, I didn't, though. The only time I was released from my fear was the 30 minutes when I was watching the latest episode of Bloodtoon. Even with all that was happening, I refused to give up on Bloodtoon. If Remy was my pillar of support in the 3D world, then my 2D support was Bloodtoon, or more specifically, Seiratan. Of course. Of course. Then, the Monday after I survived the weekend, I looked at the Phantasm community on Frepara, and I saw that something was going on. I quickly clicked on a link that sent me to @channel. The place was in an uproar. Oh my god, I'm losing it. Oh no, wait, I want to read these. The real name of Phantasm's Fess is Kishimoto. She spends time in a mental institution when she was a kid. The hospital's name is AHM. Phantasm is finished! Oh no. Don't you do it. Whatever, buddy. Quisk? I don't remember what Quisk is. Hold on. Was that here? Did I get Quisk? I don't know what Quisk is. That seems like something they'd tell me, right? Quisk. Quishiku. Give me the detail. Okay. Got it. Whose eyes were those? Oh my god. What's a Fess? MJD? I don't know what that is. Again, I feel like that's supposed to be like some kind of image. I truly cannot visualize what this is supposed to be. I'm trying so hard right now. It's like... I got nothing. I truly have nothing. I cannot visualize what this is supposed to be. AHM is an institution for real crazies. Another hater. Your trolling skills suck. If you're gonna post a thread, you need a source. Where's your source, Senator? You're lying. Fess was never in a mental hospital. You should feel ashamed for slandering somebody like that. I've never even heard of AHM. Screw you. The one watching you was me, Fess. Again, what is that? What is that? Oh my god, I hate how I'm just unable to tell what these like images are. Pound in the steak. Pound in the steak. Pound it right through their pound it straight into their lying mouths. One of you haters is going to be the next new gen victim. One is legit. Fess was hospitalized for a long time due to mental issues. The hospital put out a newsletter with pictures, poems, and essays from their patients. You can see, that's pretty fucked up. You can see a bunch of poems she wrote in it. You can see one on the official site too. Her real name is Kishimoto. Did they censor themselves, or is that like a website thing? Don't publicize. Whatever. AHM, Arkhart Medical Group. Yes. I don't know what they're guessing. I thought you guys were in love with her. You were rivals for me then, I guess. Yes. Lol, what? It's real? Yes. I don't know, what are they yesing? Fueling the fire. There's even a goddamn photo, lol. I know what fueling the fire means. Announcement, Phantasm is splitting up. So is Phantasm finished? I really liked Fess. In a sexual way. I hate that I did that. This must be an expression of the Great Will's guidance. I'm skipping the ones that just say yes. Those lyrics aren't in a Phantasm song, are they? The one watching you was me, Ayase Kishimoto. Bless, please don't quit. I'm crying here. I can see that. I know what that one is. I recognize that one. I kind of get it. Every genius is supposed to be a little crazy, right? Fess is gonna break up. I know it. We hold the black mass tonight. Oh Christ. LOLI. What? If you're not sure what it means, try saying it out loud. Just LOLI. I don't get it. LOLI? LOL. I don't get it. I do not understand. LOLI. I'm really trying. Oh, am I dumb? Am I like... I don't get it. I'm gonna have to. I don't even know. I would say get someone to explain it to me, but I don't know anybody who would understand what that means either. I don't know. Oh well, pant. I don't get it. I guess Phantasm's finished though. Honestly, I think it's a better ending for them than signing with a major label and selling out. Any official comment from Fess yet? You @Chan virgins can bitch online all you want and won't change a thing. Fess doesn't look at the past, only the future. The next prophecy of death is gonna be about you losers. Wow. Wait, what's the issue with this exactly? That's kind of what I'm at. Like, who cares? I'm glad there's one person. Thank you, Anonymous Prophet 31. There's the person inside. That's you, isn't it, Fess? You're desperate to keep your band running. We all knew Fess was crazy to begin with. Who cares? Fess had mental problems, huh? Honestly, I think that just makes her hotter. Some of them are weird. Calm down, guys. This is all just a big troll by Festan. I bet Fess went crazy because the world is filled with evil. That power awakened her punk soul. Her aggressive, intense lyrics are a cry from her soul, which has ascended to a higher dimension. If anything, we should be grateful to 12 for giving us this deeper understanding of her origins. Official sites down. I went to the URL that 12 had posted. Arcart Medical Association was a long-established psychiatric facility that only treated the most severe patients. We do yearly calendar, dormitory availability, facility tour, children's welfare accounts, consulting, access, children's creativity exhibition. Contact us. Arcart Medical Group guides children towards a better life with strong leadership and a facility surrounded by beautiful greenery. There's a picture of the hospital on the site, and it showed bars on the windows. It looked like an old prison. I wasn't sure if it even existed anymore. The homepage hadn't been updated for almost 4 years. But just like @Chan had said, the site had a picture of a young Ayase Kishimoto, along with a poem she'd written. Oh wait, let me read this. The body lurks in the shadow of a wicked heart, a thing which cannot be seen. I try to get away from it, but this unending nightmare. Shall he someday become a blade and slash apart my body? A shield of indifference helps the people avoid the flames of war. The enemy on this newborn battlefield is the wicked one within the heart. Evil can sometimes have a will of its own and manifest in our world. I wasn't really shocked or anything. I'd gone to a mental hospital when I was in elementary school too. If anything, it made me feel a little closer to her. She was just like me. Despite all her popularity, despite all her charisma, she was just like me. Having this in common made the idea that I had the same power she did, the power to project delusions into reality, feel more likely. It gave me courage and hope. But there was one problem. Until now, I'd blindly believed everything she'd said, but maybe that was a mistake. What she'd said about how to get a D-sword. Even the fact that getting a D-sword would be what saved me. I started to doubt not what she showed me, but what she told me. Should I believe it, or... I started in fright as my phone suddenly rang. Phones always love to surprise you when you were least expecting it. That's why I hated them. I sighed and picked it up. It was probably Nanami. She was probably calling to complain about something again. What a nuisance. I hit the accept call button and put the phone up to my ear without bothering to look at the number. Always a mistake. Time for the nightmare fuel. Why did I do that? Don't do that. Why was this the one call where I didn't look at the number first? The melody coming out of the phone at an impossibly loud volume was Turianse. I don't remember how to pronounce that. I quickly looked at the number on the phone's LCD display. It was the same number. But how? I thought it wasn't in service anymore. I'd had Nanami call it, and there had been a message saying so. Had the person behind this prank brought it back online?
どうしよう。
I looked around the room. If Rimi was here, she could give me some advice. But she wasn't. Of course not. Rimi was at school right now. I told her I wasn't going today, and she hadn't come to wake me up. The melody kept playing as I sat there freaking out. A whole minute had passed. When I'd had it up to my ear a moment ago, I could hear other faint sounds besides Toriense. The sounds of people walking, car engines, so it had to be outside. Who was on the phone? I could only think of one person who'd pull a prank like this. Shogun. I turned to Saratan, who was standing next to my PC monitor, for help.
どうしたらいいと思う、セイラ。
What should I do? Say something, Sarah. Saratan smiled the way she always did.
切っちゃえばいいさ。無視無視。
そっか。そうだよね。その手があった。
Should have done that right from the start. I put my thumb to the end call button. But, for some reason, I decided to listen to the Toriense melody just a little more before I hung up. It felt so strange. I wanted to hang up right now, but almost unconsciously, I put the hand with the phone up to my ear. Oh God. It came in a flood from the receiver. I hate this. I hate the sound in my ear. Please make it stop. Incredible pain, yep. A violent sound like a supersonic wave. The sound infected my body. Please, for the love of God, make it stop. My head felt like an impact like it had been struck by lightning. My whole body froze. I screamed, but I couldn't even hear my own voice. I boiled over. Oh my God, my brain, my heart. It boiled and bubbled and started to melt. The pain tore through my body, ripping through my flesh. My mind turned to liquid and raced through my body, converging at my heart and exploding into a fine mist. It felt horrible, crazy. I couldn't even think about what had just happened to me. Oh, that was awful. That was awful. I hated that. When Yua Kusunoki opened her eyes, she could see that all hell had broken loose in Class 3B, her class. Several of the students were lying on the ground. Their eyes had rolled back into their heads. They were foaming at the mouth, spasming and jerking. Several of the others were curled up into little balls, clutching their heads in pain. The rest were standing up one after another, and leaving the room, even though it was in the middle of class. The teacher was too busy helping the ones who were having seizures to stop them. The students in the hallway were all yelling in shock, but Yua didn't hear what they were saying. Her phone had been going off inside her shirt pocket. She finally realized it was buzzing and slowly reached a hand toward it. She tried to stand up, but she staggered and fell from her chair. She crouched and leaned up against the wall. After putting her glasses back up against her face, she pressed the answer call button and put the phone to her ear.
はい。はい。はあ。はい。一応大丈夫です。
She winced after she said that, then put a hand to her forehead. She could hear the voices of her classmates talking noisily outside, and her teacher shouting at the fallen students to wake up, but all of this seemed to be happening very far away.
はい。あなたは、はい。はい。そうですか。それで、
This is weird. This escalated very quickly. What the hell? Her face suddenly turned pale as she gulped. She covered the phone with her hand and dropped her voice low. It was clear from her tone that whatever she'd heard had rattled her.
そんなわけないんです。だって、本当は。
She stopped and let her hood droop. Hood?
本当は私
I don't know what that means.
だったのに。
The noise outside grew louder. Everyone was looking in the same direction, pointing fingers with fearful expressions on their faces. The windows in the hallways were rattling like they'd been hit by a gust of wind.
はい。そうです。私の妹です。はい。わかりました。
She bowed weakly, as if the person she was talking to was right in front of her, and hung up the phone. Then she looked up, and toward the direction everyone was pointing.
空が
Oh god, is it... What? What the hell's happening? It was like someone had poured white paint on a pool of water's surface. The muddied blue of the sky was turning white. It was spreading at incredible speed. It was devouring the sky.
白く染まっていく。
What? What? What's happening? Oh my god! Okay, perfect. I need to recover. I need to rest my brain. Oh my god, perfect. Perfect timing for a chapter end. Bye. Oh my god, that... Alright, yep. Bye. Good, yep.